burnt out and frazzled after a long term teaching, I've been feeling oddly melancholy of late. And pathetic fallacy was doing its drizzly thing when I woke up on an early summer Saturday. It was time to leave the seaside town they forgot to bomb to see if I couldn't find a bit of inner peace. And I knew just the place to go. It was time to pop on the Hattor hopper with Buddy Holly and the Big Bopper, possibly the best £3 I've ever spent, and head out to Dartmoor for a day of adventuring. Welcome back to the Dartmoor podcast. Now, the Dartmoor podcast usually likes to focus in on some niche subjects like cuckoos or Loganstones or American transcendentalist philosophy. But today was going to be an exception. Just to wander over the Hattor area of the moor to clear my mind and show you some sights. Oh, and to meet up with some fellow Dartmoor enthusiasts for a backpack camp. First stop was Hattor Quarry, somewhere I haven't been for many a year. It's a busy spot with a near constant stream of tourists and students wandering through, but if you catch it in a rare quiet moment and have a minute to yourself, it's a wonderful serene fairy gully full of foxgloves and water lilies, birdsong, gentle reflections, and leeches. Oh, and tiny, tiny frogs. The stone cut from this quarry was used to make the handsome London Bridge that spanned the Thames between 1831 and 1967. Obviously, a lot changed between those two dates, and when the bridge needed to be replaced, it was sold to American millionaire Robert McCulloch, who had it reconstructed at Lake Havasu in Arizona. There's an oft-repeated legend that the daft Yank thought he was buying the more iconic Tower Bridge, but sadly this is nonsense. It's very odd to think that the stone which once lay where I was sitting was now on the other side of the Atlantic somewhere. After shaking the tiny frogs out of my lavoo, I'm not joking, it was time to get moving. My first mission of the day was to stretch my legs and climb some of the wonderful tors on this part of the moor, starting with the most impressive, Hattor Rocks. Yes, it does. Hattor is a great bulbous granite leviathan with views for miles around. And, as usual for the summer months, it was pretty crowded, so I had to share the summit with a coachload of Japanese tourists. In these situations, when you find a place to be busier than you hoped, I think it's always important to remember that you are part of that crowd, so can't really complain. Just 10 minutes walk away up and down a small depression is Saddle Tor, so called because, well, it looks like a saddle. Already my mood was lifted. The big skies and clean air, the views, the feeling of going on my own adventure under my own steam always brings me back to myself. Next stop, Ripon Tor. And as this is the tallest tor in this area, I decided to stop halfway up by this hawthorn to make a cup of tea and watch a brief melodrama. Bye then, Beth. I hope you find Bert. Morning. Now, for whatever reason, I don't actually remember topping out on Ripon Tor before, so when I did, this happened, meaning I got to colour in a new Dartmoor 365 square. If what I just said sounds like gibberish, then I recommend watching my Dartmoor 365 episode. I was itching to hove onwards, but there was a pressing issue. I was running out of water. So before I headed back onto the tops, I would need to find somewhere to fill up my bottle, which would necessitate a detour into Emsworthy Mire to find a source. It was either that or drink the beers I'd been lugging around, but I wanted to save them for later. As a bonus though, on my route to water there was another 365. Hamstead Gate might not look that impressive, but it marks a very ancient route across the moors, lying as it does by the crossroads linking Ashburton, Bovey Tracy, Mannerton and Walton Hamstead. Anyway, after getting a bit lost by this creepy copse, I found this reasonably clear looking spring and I was heading back uphill towards a trio of tors I've never visited before. A great opportunity for some torbagging. If what I just said sounds like gibberish, then I recommend watching my torbagging episode with Dartmoor legend Max Piper. First was Top Tor. Second was Pill Tor. And third was Hollow Tor. So where is this Hollow Tor then? The invisible Tor. Top Tor. Pill Tor. Weird. Not even being able to find Hollow Tor itself didn't bode well for my next objective, to try and find some letterboxes in this area. And although I did eventually find the outcrop and scrabble around in the bracken, I would have to admit defeat on this particular boxing attempt. If what I just said sounds like gibberish, then I recommend watching my letterboxing episode with proper boxer Ratboy. Anyway, my disappointment at failing to locate any secret caches at Hollow Tor was soon dispelled by the wonderful sight of a red kite. These birds made an astonishing comeback, from just a few pairs in Wales in the 70s to being widespread across Britain today. But they're still quite a rare sight in the West Country, probably because we have so many buzzards already filling their ecological niche. If you'd told a young bird-obsessed George back in the 90s that he'd see a red kite on Dartmoor one day, he'd tell you to pull the other one. With a new spring in my step and the afternoon drawing on, it was time to head up, up, up again. I would need to scale a line of tors, creating an impressive ridge above Widdicombe. My destination? Honeybag Tor, where I'd arranged to meet a couple of other Dartmoor YouTubers. The sea of bracken eventually parted to reveal the crumbling pile of Bone Hill Rocks. A cool name for a cool spot, popular with boulderers and with 100 little nooks and crannies to explore. By this point, however, I was too knackered and fashionably late to meet my content-creating comrades to investigate, or even scale to the top for a proper torbagging. I've just spotted Dave. He's got his cap on backwards, I think that's him. He's one tor ahead of me, he's on Bell Tor. I trudged on up the slope past Bell Tor after the disappearing Dave. And as I gained height, I found myself inside a shroud of cloud, creating a very spooky atmosphere among the twin cairns of Chinkwell Tor. But now my goal was in sight, the wonderfully named Honeybag Tor, which should be hiding Dave Does Hiking and Graeme from Dartmoor Adventurer Explorer among its tumbling stacks. I'm guessing they'll be tucked over the sheltered side. Quite a breeze had sprung up, and it flung a fine mizzle across the hillside, so I made the assumption that my buddies would have been smart enough to seek shelter on the leeward side. It was great to finally meet them after watching so many of their videos, and I flopped down to have a chat and drink a well-deserved beer. And the pair were great company. We talked all evening about our embarrassing early video attempts, our online trolls, and the baffling mysteries of the YouTube algorithm. As YouTubers, Graeme is a constant source of the sort of enthusiasm and energy which I can only briefly ascend to when finding a rare fern or such like. And Dave's channel is actually a genuinely useful resource for orientating yourself around the moor as he takes you along on his long hikes. The Dartmoor podcast seal of approval goes out to both. And if you'd like to see our camping evening from a different angle, or two, then I will of course leave links to their channels in the description below. Oh, and as a bonus we did find a letterbox too. Honeybag Tor itself is an absolutely huge area of scattered outcrops with so many interesting little caves and stacks to explore. There must be lots of secrets hidden up here for someone with the time to scour it. Anyway, eventually I decided that I should set up my tent too, but just as I was about to unfold the tarp, I saw this lazy alternative. A perfect little shelter, right out of the wind that wasn't too full of sheep poo. Well, don't look a gift cave in the mouth, I always say. Like some sort of disgusting rock goblin, I just blew up my mat and built my bed under this overhanging slab. And it was time to heat up my customary spicy kimchi noodles too. More hanging out, and Graeme even cracked out a pack of cards to dazzle us with some magic, before the moor decided to show us a bit of magic of its own, with a dramatic and brooding sunset peeking through the scudding clouds. We exchanged more stories and finished our beers. And before it was time to retire to our tents, or caves, there was just enough time to hear the voice of a wonderful churring nightjar floating up from the valley below.
Very horror movie noise.
Morning might not have been the spectacular sunrise I was hoping for, but it was still a joy to make a cuppa in bed with a view straight out over the beautiful crumbly wreck of Hattor.
Did you do that this morning?
Yeah.
I could hear that.
Oh, could you?
Yeah. I was like, that's a strange noise.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not a sheep or a horse.
Sadly, I had to make an early getaway to restore my depleted water supplies, so had to give Dave and Graeme a warm farewell. We left with a plan to collaborate on another little expedition later in the year, so we shall meet again soon. History and hiking, boxing and birding, tea drinking and torbagging, friendship and free 6-5ing. There's no better remedy for the blues than Dartmoor. Dartmoor rocks. I headed back homewards following the path of London Bridge along the old granite tramway with a smile on my face, ready to face reality again, and already looking forward to future adventures. I hope you enjoyed me dragging you along, and I'm sure we'll be back to absurd tangential deconstructions of niche Dartmoor phenomena next episode. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you next time.